Major 2 qualifiers start tomorrow, so I went through every single match that every team is playing online this split, and also predicted the bracket for the event at Major 2 here in Allen, Texas. So today we're going to go through what I think every team's record is going to be, and then my bracket, who I think is going to win Major 2 as of right now on February 13th. So these are my way too early predictions. So let's get started with the 12th place team for me, and this is going to be the Vegas Falcons, coming in at an 0-7 record. You can see their schedule on screen. I'm predicting them to have a 2-21 map count, only 2 map wins. Hopefully they get more, right? I think they had 4 map wins in Major 1, but looking at the schedule, right, they play a Boston team that's really good, LAT, obviously really good, C9, who are solid, Rocker, who are good, Ultra, who are really good, LAG, who are hit or miss, but I think they're going to continue to get better, and also a really good Ravens team. This is just not a kind schedule to the Falcons. My number 11 team, coming in at a 1-6 record, is the Vancouver Surge with a 10-20 map count. Surge did make a move to bring Neptune onto this team, but looking at their schedule, it's actually pretty tough, right? They play FaZe, they play LAT, they play Toronto. They also play a Rocker team who's quality, a Miami team who's quality, and then LAG and Cloud9 could potentially be probably where they could steal some wins. I could potentially see this team maybe getting like 3 wins if they do kind of get something against Miami or New York or LAG, but ultimately I feel like the schedule is a bit tough for a Surge team that hasn't shown me much. I think Neptune will make them better, but for me, I got them at 1-6. Then at number 10, I have the Miami Heretics coming in at a 2-5 record, a 12-19 map count. Honestly, I just feel like Miami, their Major 1 run was definitely a bit of just them really showing out for their home crowd. They might just be a team that's better on land, but looking at their schedule, again, I mean, as you're going to see with these teams towards the bottom of my predicted standings, they have a tough schedule, right? They play Optic, they play FaZe, they play Ravens. They could definitely take wins off of probably Surge or LAG or maybe even Rocker or Boston, but I just don't know how I feel about this Miami team online because they were 2-5 in the last split. And coming in at number 9, our last team that'll be in losers bracket, I have the Minnesota Rocker, 2-5 as well, a 14-17 map count, which doesn't sound that bad, but looking at their schedule, they play the top teams, right? They play LAT, they play FaZe, they play Optic, they play Ravens. The only one really missing there is Ultra. Miami's a team they could probably beat. Vegas is a team that obviously I think they will beat. And then Surge is another team that I think they could beat. But Rocker, I mean, they're a dark horse team, right? I can see Rocker doing better than what I'm predicting and making winners bracket. But given they play 4 of the 5 best teams in the league, it's going to be a tough schedule. Now we get into our winners bracket. And at the 8th seed, I have Cloud9 New York with a 4-3 record, a 16-16 map count. As you see me looking over there, that's because I have the research I did on my second monitor. But looking at their schedule, right, Vegas should be an easy dub. Surge should be a dub. Honestly, Boston, LAG could be wins. Ravens, FaZe, and Ultra are tough teams, but if C9 plays a bit better this split, I could see them having a pretty good one. But overall, I just got a better feeling about Cloud9 in this split. I don't know what it is. This is just a complete gut check out of me. But I just feel like they're going to be a bit better, and they're going to get that 8 seed. My number 7 seed is going to be the LA Gorilla Mates at a 4-3 record, 17-15 map count. They have a relatively decent schedule, right? The last 2 matches are their hardest matches, FaZe and Optic, but everyone else I think is beatable for this LAG team. And I think they could potentially go 5-2 here, right? I think they could drop to C9, or they could Boston, or Surge, or Miami, right? They could end up having another bad split, but I got another gut check here. Good feeling about LAG just playing a bit better, especially because I think they're going to be playing for their spots, right? I think especially for Priest and Skies, they're going to potentially have their back against the wall this split, and I expect them to just step up a bit. And coming in at number 6, also 4-3, I have the Carolina Royal Ravens with a 17-14 map count. LAT Ultra is definitely a tough first weekend for these guys, and then they got Rocker Optic the second weekend, which is also tough, and then C9 Miami and Vegas to round it out. I could potentially see this Ravens team losing their first 4 matches here, right? I think they obviously can beat a couple of these teams, right? We've seen them beat Optic twice. We know they could take down Minnesota Rocker. We know they could take down Ultra. They could probably even beat LAT, right? But this is definitely a hard schedule for the Ravens, and very front-loaded hard schedule. So I had them going 4-3, but I could see them doing better. And you also got to remember, there's always upsets. So I tried to like predict some upsets. So if you think a team should be like 5-2 instead of 4-3, it might just be because I tried to throw an upset in there. It just, unfortunately, it's going to be impossible to predict every single upset that actually happens. My number 5 seed is going to be Boston Breach. I have them as well at a 4-3 record, 18-14 map count. Vegas, LAG, I feel like should be wins for them, even C9 in Miami. But playing Ultra, playing LA Thieves, and playing FaZe are definitely going to be tough ones. But you can never count this Boston team out. You could see them potentially stealing something versus an Ultra or Thieves. Right? We saw them beat LAT online in the last split. We saw them beat Optic online in the last split. You never really know what you're going to get from this Boston Breach team. And like I said, for LAG, I think the ARs on this team, Cammy and Awakening, are going to be playing with their backs against the wall, playing for their spot. And ultimately, that just makes people play a little bit harder, which probably ends up into some better results. Now we get into our top 4. And at number 4, I do have the Toronto Ultra, also at 4-3. I got a bunch of teams at 4-3. I feel like this split in just this year is going to be pretty competitive. But Ultra coming in into 17-13 map count. I mean, OPTIC, LAT, Ravens, obviously they're tougher matchups. And then you got Falcons, Surge, C9 in here that maybe are some of the easier ones. But the Ultra are a team that, like, I think they're always going to be good, right? You look at the guys on this team, I think they're always going to be a good roster. It's just a matter of, like, are they going to troll a game 5 and potentially get upset by a team? Or are their SND going to be good again and they're going to start icing up and maybe have a better record than I think? Coming in at number 3 with a 5-2 record, I have OPTIC Texas with a 19-15 map count. Honestly, for OPTIC, I said 5-2. There's a bunch of teams here they could lose to, right? FaZe, Ravens, Ultra, Thieves. These are all teams. Even Rocker this first weekend, now that they're back to playing with Pred and they are a little bit under practice, they could get upset or beaten by any of these teams and potentially have a worse record than 5-2. But I'd imagine they're going to, get a lot of the job done here, right? OPTIC is still a really good team, and now they have Pred back. So I wouldn't be surprised if they lose to, like, just FaZe and Thieves, or maybe they beat FaZe, maybe they beat Thieves and they lose to, like, Ravens, who they've lost to twice now, or they lose to Ultra. I just think, like, 5-2 is a fair record, given OPTIC has a pretty tough schedule. Coming in at my number 2 seed, I have LA Thieves at a 6-1 record with a 20-8 map count. Honestly, this schedule is pretty easy for LAT, right? You play Vegas, you play Surge, you play Boston, you play Rocker. All teams you're expected to beat. Ravens is obviously a tough team. Ultra's a tough team. OPTIC's a tough one. I feel like LAT's probably going to drop one of these, right? Like, let's be realistic. It's really hard to go undefeated. And I wouldn't be surprised if LAT just drops one of these online, because clearly they're just a bit better on LAN. And going 6-1 would be great for a second seed. And then last, but certainly not least, or I should say first, right? It is Atlanta FaZe. I have them going 7-0, not dropping a match this split with a 21-9 map count. This would set them as by far the longest win streak in the league. Honestly, I just feel like they'll probably lose one of these if we had to guess, right? Like I said, there's always upsets, but FaZe is FaZe. They look so good, and just based on what I've seen in matches and the stats, it's just hard to pick against them. I could see them losing to OPTIC, right? If Pred comes out frying, or maybe later in the split to, like, a random upset to, like, Boston or Rocker. But I mean, look at FaZe's schedule. The only top team they play is OPTIC Texas, and they're coming hot off another roster change right in the first weekend back. So FaZe has a really good schedule to go into the split on, like, a 19-match win streak, 20-match win streak, and also go 7-0. But now let's talk about the predicted bracket and what I'm predicting essentially as of right now for Major 2. Starting off with winners round 1, 1 seed versus the 8 seed is going to be FaZe versus Cloud9, and I have Atlanta FaZe winning this. Then we go down to the 4 versus 5, which would be Toronto Ultra versus the Boston Breach, and I have Toronto Ultra winning this. And also, I think I did all the tiebreakers and seeding correct. It's possible I didn't, but at the end of the day, this is just a fun prediction video, right? So let me know what your guys' predictions are in the comments. Then we go down to the 2 versus 7, which would be LAT versus LAG, and I have the Thieves winning this. And then 3 versus 6, which is OPTIC versus Ravens, and I have OPTIC getting their revenge on the Ravens taking this one. Now we drop down into elimination round 1, where we'll see Cloud9 versus Minnesota Rocker, and I got the Minnesota Rocker taking the upset. Next, we'd have Boston Breach versus the Vegas Falcons, and unfortunately for Vegas, I just think Boston's definitely going to win this one. And then our last 2, LAG versus Miami Heretics. I got LAG taking this, Miami going from top 3 at Major 1 to top 12 at Major 2. And then Ravens versus Surge, and I, of course, have the Ravens winning it. And also, if you guys didn't already know, you can use code MAV on Agent Picks, link down below, get up to a $100 deposit match. You can see some of the things you could bet on here. If you like Prize Picks or Underdog, and this is available in your state, I definitely check it out. There's even a Neptune 49 kills 1 through 3 line right now. You can bet on Hill Time. You can bet on deaths in map 2. You can bet on First Bloods. They got a lot of cool stuff on here, so check them out. But then for our Elim round 2 matches, I would have the Minnesota Rocker versus the Boston Breach. And I got the Minnesota Rocker taking this one. And then we would have LAG versus the Ravens, and I have the Ravens winning that. Going back up to winners round 2, we got our top 4 teams battling out. FaZe versus Ultra, I got Atlanta FaZe taking the dub. Then LAT versus OPTIC, I'm going to give it to the Thieves. Obviously, this is OPTIC's home event with Pred back. This is definitely one that could be a coin flip, but I got to back my boys, and also, it'd be crazy to say LAT don't look better than OPTIC right now. And then our winners finals, to get it out of the way, I have LAT and FaZe facing off once again, and I think LA Thieves get the job done this time and go to the grand final. Elimination round 3. We got OPTIC versus the Minnesota Rocker. I think OPTIC take this one. It is their home event after all. And I know everyone's going to say home crowd cheese, right? The drum cheese. I'll see if they bring out the drums. I'm going to be at Major 2, which will be exciting. But got OPTIC taking that one. And then Ultra versus Ravens. I actually have the Toronto Ultra winning this one. That brings us to our top 4. OPTIC versus Ultra for a place in the losers finals. I got OPTIC getting this done, securing a top 3. Then they would face off against Atlanta FAZE. And I'm giving this one the FAZE, right? I think it would just be a little crazy. I guess I could try to predict the upset, but I'm going to give FAZE the dub over OPTIC to get a rematch in the grand finals for LA Thieves. Then we get to our grand finals, and I also want to say there's almost no way this is going to be correct, right? Obviously, LAT and FAZE look like the 2 best teams right now for sure. Or I guess I should say FAZE first because they look like the best team. I'm just doing an early prediction, and I kind of just went with my gut and see where we end up. So this will probably end up being wrong, but that's part of the fun. But in a grand finals rematch, LAT versus FAZE, I think LAT get their revenge. I think they win this in a Game 7, Round 11. And we have FAZE versus LAT in back-to-back grand finals with one of them winning each. But hey, you let me know what you think about the predictions. This is just supposed to be for fun, early prediction. If you disagree with it, hopefully you didn't take it too seriously. Like I said, it's all for fun at the end of the day, and I like to do these before each split. So if you like CDL content, make sure to sub. We're on the road to 10K subscribers. I appreciate the support, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.